knowing our next honoree from the time she was born. And I had a wonderful mother that was part of a legacy of history. She kept history from the Diamond Day Cattle Company and all of the Tibbses and all of the people that was a big part of their life. So as a young boy growing up, I got acquainted, not because I was in her, but I had no choice. I had to attend Diamond Day reunions, and one of the greatest memories that I have is that Johnny and Sharon would bring their little, it began with 3 little girls. And they would come to those Diamond Day reunions, and those old Diamond Day cowboys were so proud. None prouder than Grandpa John Holloway, who was a Diamond Day cowboy. And Uncle Shorty Holloway, who was a Diamond Day cowboy. And of course, my grandfather, Albert Lopez, and of course, great uncle, Casey Tibbs. They marveled, and I use that word, they marveled at what Johnny and Sharon, what they raised. They raised their kids to be cowboys and cowgirls. Some might say maybe a little bit once in a while on the rough side, but they got it done. And what a privilege it was to watch their mother, Sharon, sew all of their clothes. And when they began the Holloway Rodeo Company, the kids were arena clearers. And then they developed into flanking bucking horses. And then, of course, Roxee, because, and you'll hear here a little bit of the story, became one of the first lady pickup women in our business. And so I want to, it's just a privilege to know that whole history and have known that whole family. And I was sharing with some others earlier that my mother was staying with John and Sharon when Johnny was born. And her claim was she got to change Johnny's britches when he was a little boy. So there's a lot of history there. A lot of fun history. A lot of fun history with the Tibbs family. You know, and then Roxee, as we watched her develop, her skills, became a good hand with horses, cutting, barrel racing, roping, name it, do it. And of course, again, one of the first lady pickup women of our time in our area, and did it in a large scale. So that wasn't all that she did, and I want to share this little fun story. She's pretty good bouncer too. In fact, she was hired by the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe years back when Johnny Lynn was a tribal councilwoman. Roxee was hired to be the sergeant of arms. And so the council would, back, what was this, 7, 8 years ago, I suppose, maybe longer?
2012 to 2016.
2016. So back then, the council would go to the different communities and meet once a month. And Roxee would go to keep order in case there was any ruckus. This council meeting was held at the town of Cherry Creek on this one month. And a big storm came through. I mean, it was a tornado or close to it, and it blew the community building down. The roof come down right on top of the council and everybody. Well, I'm 30 miles up the road, and a neighbor lady comes driving into my yard. Name was Maggie Ironhawk, and she said, "Did you hear the news? They had a council meeting down Cherry Creek. Bad wreck. They found Roxee. They found Richard right out on top of Roxee under the roof." True story. I said, "What?" "Yeah, he was trying to jump for the relish tray to save it. He landed on Roxee." So, Roxee's the jack of all trades, and she even saved the relish tray. I want to share with you the real story that's composed, some by Roxee and some by myself and some others, that very fitting as we honor Roxee tonight. As a young girl, Roxee wasn't so sure she wanted to be a cowgirl. In fact, when she didn't want to go riding with her dad and the rest of the crew, it really bothered Johnny. He tried to make her ride. And his dad, Roxee's grandpa John, told him, "You leave that little girl alone. If she wants to stay in the house with her mom, don't make her go ride." He said one day, "She'll decide she wants to go ride, and then you won't be able to leave her here at home." Sure enough, it wasn't long when she came running to the corral one morning and said, "Catch my horse, Daddy. I want to go." After that, he could never leave her home. She wanted to be a horseback, helping every day. So growing up and dreaming of being a cowgirl was exactly what she did. She got to ride alongside of her older sister Randy, younger sister Johnny Lynn, and two brothers, Chuck and DC, almost daily. Roxee started competing in kids' rodeos at the age of 5, and she won her first buckle at the age of 10 in the barrel racing. Roxee started out in 4-H and Little Britches rodeos, then competed in barrel racing, pole bending, goat tying, breakaway roping, team roping, and cattle cutting in high school. She went on to rodeo in college in the STRA and NRCA rodeos. Roxee wishes they would have had a woman's ranch bronc riding back then in her prime, and she's pretty sure and her sisters Randy and Johnny Lynn could have given them a run for their money. In 1978, Roxee was the state 4-H barrel racing champion. She was the champion barrel racer and all-around cowgirl at the Great Plains Indian Rodeo Association in 79 and 80. She also qualified for the INFR in Salt Lake City in 1979 and Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1980. Roxee was the rookie cowgirl of the South Dakota Rodeo Association in 1979. After graduating high school in 84, Roxee attended college in Snyder, Texas and Riverton, Wyoming, where she competed in barrel racing, breakaway roping, and team roping. While attending and competing in college rodeos, Roxee also picked up at several of the college rodeos for Edgar Wilson and Hank Franzen. It was in August of 1981 that Johnny's pickup man didn't show up for the performance at the Faith Stock Show and Rodeo. 15 minutes before rodeo time, Johnny told Sharon and Roxee, "One of you is going to have to get on those pickup shafts and get up and get mounted to help me." Roxee looked at her mother, and she got a look from Sharon, and Sharon said, "It sure as hell isn't going to be me." Of course, Roxee couldn't disobey her mother, so she got the shafts on, and from that day on, she worked beside her dad as a pickup woman. Actually, for the first time Roxee ever picked up was at the Wall High School Rodeo when she was a 4th grader. The other pickup man had to go to a pro rodeo in Canning on Sunday, so Johnny tied her saddle strings around her legs so she wouldn't get pulled off. Roxee was scared to death, especially when an old saddle bronc horse, Uncle Tom, came bucking out through there squirreling like a pig and he went right to her. Roxee picked up the bronc rider, turned her horse off, and safely set him on the ground. Roxee says it definitely wasn't an easy job, but nothing is easy. She says they would get home from their weekends late Sunday night or Monday morning, and she would still be stiff and sore, bruised from getting bumped up all weekend by bucking horses. About Thursday, she'd start to feeling good and be over the soreness. Then it would be time to load up and head out to the next rodeo. All summer long for 25 years, Roxee was a pickup woman for the Holloway Rodeo Company. Of course, she preferred picking up with her dad and her brother Chuck, but she picked up with many others. Roxee never cared for bareback riding because of the hang-ups and would be nervous until it was over. After becoming a full-time pickup woman, Roxee didn't compete as much. Once in a while, she would still enter the breakaway roping and the team roping, but she says it was just too hard to try to get it on her mind when she had to pick up also. I'm one of those that has to be focused, and it didn't work to come out of the arena, jump off my pickup horse, and onto my rope horse, and be ready. Roxee was selected to pick up at the SDRA and the NRCA finals many times throughout the 80s and 90s. She also picked up at the Casey Tibbs Match of Champions several years. In 1987, Roxee applied to pick up at the NARC World Finals in El Paso, Texas. She received a letter saying that she was selected as an alternate. She told her dad, "They'll never pick me because I'm a woman." He told her with a kind of attitude, "You're probably right." So he said, "Be positive and remember, quitters never win and winners never quit." Well, lo and behold, the next year, in 1988, she again applied and this time was selected to pick up with Benny Smith of Los Lunas, New Mexico. The two worked great together, like they'd picked up many times. Although they had just met in El Paso, there were 22 performances in 10 days. And by the time it was over, Roxee was tired and sore, as was her horses. She remembers riding into the arena the first performance in El Paso, and she said along the wall, she could hear the crowd talking and saying, "What is that girl doing out there trying to do a man's job?" I was extremely nervous, and as I rode in for that first performance, when I heard that crowd say that, I thought, "You just watch. I'll show you what this girl can do." The first performance went well, and from then on, I wasn't nervous. I just had to get by that first one. My folks have always been my biggest support and encouragement, and if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have done what I did. Dad always said, "Just go do what you know how to do," whenever I was nervous about picking up or competing. Pickup women have to be mounted on good horses, and that is the one thing that my dad always made sure that I rode good horses. I'm not saying that some of them might not be a little cold back once in a while, but they were tough, and they weren't scared to take a hit from a bronc. Some of the toughest and the best pickup horses I ever rode were Roan-Bar bred horses. I was always made sure I loped them around and warmed them up good before riding in the arena, because if I didn't, there was a good chance they might plant me out in the arena. At the Casey Tibbs Match Champions in June of 2006, Roxee was picking up when she had a freak accident and ended up with 2 broken and 3 crushed vertebrae in her back. That put an end to her career as a pickup woman. But she feels she had a good, long career and was lucky in that she didn't have more accidents. Roxee gives all the glory to God for the ability to be a cowgirl and still enjoys riding and helping her son, Regan, with ranch work. I consider myself very lucky to have been raised a cowgirl in a rodeo family. I am the cowgirl that because of my mom and dad. I am extremely proud of my son Regan, as he's been picking up rodeos for 5 years now, and he's a good hand. Last year he was selected to pick up at the Indian National Finals in Las Vegas, so that was a big highlight, not only for him, but also for me. Nowadays, I'm at home in Eagle Butte. I work for the Cheyenne River Center of the Ogallala Lakota College, and I'm very proud to say that in June of 2021, I finally finished my schooling, and I earned my bachelor's degree in business administration. In my spare time, I'd like to help Regan and my folks, but most of all, I enjoy spending time with my 2-year-old granddaughter, Renee. She's the light of my life. I also like to help Dad harness and drive the team for various occasions. It's been a great life, and Roxee wouldn't trade it for the world. How about a hand for Roxee Holloway? Roxee, if you come up. Now I'm going to ask Father John to come up and honor Roxee with this award. And he was the first teacher. Congratulations, Roxee. I think we got a pretty proud daddy up here. Thank you, John.
Johnny, stay up there.
Congratulations, John and Sharon. Roxee, it's your turn. Okay. Microphone's yours. Tell us about some more of them good stories at church.
Knowledge trace. Anyway, thank you, Jim. You made me sound like I was really good. Thank you so much. And please bear with me, because I'm not really much of a speaker. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'd be much more comfortable going out and getting on my pickup horse and going to pick up a bronc, even though it's been a few years than I am standing up here right now tonight. First of all, I'm honored to be a part of this great group of honorees. And I'm happy to say that I know each and every one of them this year, which is really exciting. I'm proud to be chosen a part of this 2022 group of honorees. I'd like to thank the selection committee and the board members, whoever had anything to do with letting me be one of the honorees this year. It's just a very prestigious honor that I'm very proud of. Even more exciting for me is the fact that Casey Tibbs is my great uncle. For those of you that don't know, my grandma Honoree Holloway was a sister to Uncle Casey. So it's an honor for me to have my picture on the wall. As Jim said, I really didn't want to ride when I was a little girl, and I remember that quite well. But it didn't take long for me to realize that horseback riding, sorting and working cattle, or gathering and sorting bucket horses and bulls was a whole lot funner than staying in the house with Mom. Not because I didn't love my mama, but because if you stayed in the house, you had to dust, vacuum, help with the cooking, wash and dry the dishes and put them away, make the socks, oh my God, that was a horrible job, and iron Dad's handkerchiefs. Now you tell me, why in the world would you have to iron handkerchiefs when all he's going to do is blow his nose on it or walk one of us snot noses kids is doing? I never did understand that. But Mom made sure that we knew how to do all the household chores on a daily basis. Some of you probably remember when Randy and I started out as the arena cleaners at the rodeos, and as Jim said, Mom sewed all of our little outfits, and we were styling, or at least we thought we were. Anyway, in 1976, I was 10 years old, I'm old. Mom made us these little red, white, and blue outfits for the centennial, and Dad ordered us each a pair of boots from Birdsall's boot shop over here in Pier. You might have seen them down on my display table, those red, white, and blue boots, and at the top it has 76 on them. Anyway, she made these fancy little outfits and little flags for all three of us girls to carry, and so we were all proud. We went to the rodeo in Four Corners. We had practiced, I don't know what we were supposed to do, come out and post up, and Dad was going to bring the grand entry through us or something, I don't know. Anyway, so we go in all proud with our red, white, and blue outfits on, and one of us was supposed to post up here, and the next, and the next. Well, anyway, I think we made about 3 or 4 laps around the arena, and none of us stopped like we were supposed to do. Pretty soon Dad hollers, "Hey, get the hell out of there!" So we come out of the arena hanging our heads with our little red, white, and blue flags. And Randy was saying, "You were supposed to do this," and I said, "No, you were supposed to do that." Anyway, Dad said, "Hey, no fighting. If there's any fighting to do, I'll do it." So after that, we learned our little routine and what we were supposed to do for the rest of the summer at the rodeos. Anyway, after Randy and I got where we weren't arena cleaners anymore because Johnny Lynn and Chuck came along, they started arena cleaning, and Randy and I moved to the steer pen where we had to push calves and steers. Believe me, I would have much rather been an arena cleaner than a steer pusher, but anyway. Then along after Johnny Lynn and Chuck, Johnny Lynn moved out of that, and it was Chuck and TC. And those two boys roped every calf and steer that they, as arena cleaners, that they brought out of the arena, making for a lot of extra work for the catch pin crew. And I said, "Why didn't we get to carry ropes, Dad? Maybe I'd have been a much better roper like my brothers if I could have carried a rope and roped them calves when I was cleaning the arena." The year in faith that Jim talked about, when I actually got started picking up, he said exactly how Mom said it. She looked at me when Dad said, "When are you getting those chaps on?" She looked at me and she said, "It sure the hell ain't gonna be me." So she went and got the other pickup man's shirt, and I put it on and put on those chaps and got on and whatnot. And I took a couple deep breaths. I was scared to death, and Mom walks over and slapped my leg, and she said, "You got this, girl." She said, "Go make a hand and make me proud." Well, at that time, Dad said, "Let's go, Prairie Dog." For those of you that don't know, my nickname is Prairie Dog. It has been since I was a little shy girl. Being a pickup woman wasn't easy, it was a tough job, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I had a good teacher, and when I first got started, it was kind of funny because the shirts that we had to wear was all snap shirts. Well, it didn't take very long for me to learn that I needed to put a tank top on underneath those snap shirts. I'll let you figure out why. I gained a lot of respect from all the rough stock riders. In fact, when I first started picking up, they would always say, "Thank you, Roxee," or "Thank you, ma'am," when I'd set them down, and Dad would say, "My God, they never thanked me." Dad did make sure that I rode good horses. Some of them, like Jim said, a little bronchial, a little cold back. I remember one year we were in Buffalo Gap, and Dad and I have been trying to remember the name of this sorrel horse. And he was all right, but when you rode in to pick somebody up, you better have a good hold of him, because you were going to get in a wreck, or he was going to buck you off, both of you, or whatever. And I come out of the arena, and Doc Gregg was there. Most of you here probably remember Doc Gregg. He comes riding over to me, and he said, "Roxee," he said, "you are a cowgirl. I wouldn't straddle that SOB that you're riding." I said, "Well, it's not that I want to, but when I get orders from my dad, I can't disobey." One other story, I'll make this quick and then I'll be done. Every time a horse quit bucking, Dad would bring him home. If he was a decent looking horse, not good looking, just a decent looking horse, and head to the round pen with him and say, "Randy, get your saddle." She'd get her saddle and we'd roll our eyes, "Oh my God." The next time another horse quit bucking, he'd bring that horse to the round pen. "Roxee, get your saddle." Oh my gosh, I don't know how many old bucking horses we had to ride. But I will tell you that after you hit the ground so many times, you learn to do everything you can to stay in the middle. He made cowgirls out of us. Since retiring, I've done about everything there is to do. Secretary of rodeos, timed rodeos, been a shoot boss, helped with the barrier. Most recently, I've been being a rough stock judge at a few rodeos. And I get some pretty mean looks when I throw that flag. In fact, I think Alan Good was in Lord Rule this summer, and I won't say any more about that. But anyway, it's been a good life. Rodeo, I wouldn't change it for the world. Rodeo is the greatest sport on dirt. I'm happy to say, as Jim mentioned, that my son Rickon has followed in my footsteps and was selected to pick up at the INFR last year. And I want to thank all my family and friends that came tonight. It means so much to me. And lastly, I want to say that I remember at the unveiling of Uncle Casey on the brown necktie, the life-size bronze, at the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. In Colorado Springs, Uncle Casey thanked everybody that day. And then he said, "Thanks for making me look good." Hell, I was good. So I'm going to use his line tonight and say, "Thank you, Dad, for making me look good. Hell, I was good."
Very good. Yeah. Very, very good.